Hello again and welcome back to the PhatPhish Guitar Studio. I'm Dave and today I want to talk about learning scales and why you need to consider learning scales as part of your developing as a guitar player. I was at the North East Guitar Show last weekend demonstrating PhatPhish and talked to a whole bunch of people. Some people totally got the idea of why you would use PhatPhish, the importance of scales and so on. But some people said, well, why would I want to do scales? I don't want to do classical theory or anything like that. I want to play the guitar. And I think it's important just to go back to basics and talk a little bit about scales and kind of where they fit into music generally. Now, scales in Western music, all music is derived from one scale or another. It's easy to think of scales as just the old do, re, mi type of thing, and that's a scale. That's a C major scale that I played there. But that scale is the basis for a whole load of music. Any music that's written in the key of C major uses notes from that C major scale. It will only contain 7 different notes. There might be in higher octaves or lower octaves, but it will contain the notes C, D, E, F, G, A and B. Those are the notes in the C major scale. Those are the notes in the key of C major. Likewise, if you went to a different major scale, say G major, you've got G, A, B, C, D, E and F sharp. So any piece of music written in the key of G major will only contain those 7 notes. Okay, to be honest, you might get the occasional outside note that's added just to give it a bit of colour, but the basic foundation, the vast majority of the notes in that piece of music are derived from, will come from that scale. And there's different scales. Different scales have different sounds. Like the major scale has a relatively happy sound. So compare that C major scale that I just played to something like a C minor. That has a slightly more somber sound. So different scales have different notes in them, have different intervals between those notes. Then the notes are arranged in different orders, and that gives the scale its unique sound. And you can take the scale, like I say, and take notes from it and create music. All music is derived from scales, basically. So this is where you can start to use PhatPhish as a tool to help you learn scales and become more proficient as a guitar player and become a better musician. So let's start off with A natural minor. A natural minor is a good rock scale. So we'll take PhatPhish, dial in A natural minor, and it looks like this. Now, what you've probably seen before is the idea of scale boxes. So a scale box is where you will look at the notes from the scale and try to find a way of playing it kind of roughly 1 finger per fret. So from that A natural minor scale, we could come up with a box where A, 5th fret on the bottom E string is our root note, and we use that and play the A natural minor scale. So that's a scale. You can take the box, you can practice it, you can get familiar with it, and you can start to use that as the basis for writing melody lines. You can use it as the basis for improvisation. But what you can also do is consider where else the notes from that scale occur on the neck, and this is where PhatPhish is really useful, because as well as just identifying places within one region of the neck where you can play a scale box, you can get it to highlight the notes of the scale right the way across the neck. Now, down the bottom right hand corner, there's the ability you can play the scales through. As PhatPhish is playing the scales, you can set the tempo up there in the settings. You can get it to play back at a speed that you're comfortable with, and you can just play through the scale, ascending or descending, or different patterns to help you get your fingers familiar with how the scale's played. And PhatPhish will highlight the note that you're playing. What you should notice though is when you're getting PhatPhish to play scales back to you, it's highlighting the notes on the neck. If it's not doing that, go into the settings. There's an option called Display as you play, and it'll show you where those. As long as that's checked, it'll show you whether which note it is that it's playing. And what you should see is that it's not just highlighting one note that's being played. It's actually highlighting be the same letter, but it'll be in different places on the neck. And that's because of the way that the guitar is tuned. The same note occurs in more than one place. Using PhatPhish to highlight the notes of the scale right the way across the neck, you realise you've got a lot more flexibility about where you play. Now I've done a separate video which I'll put a link to in the information section down there that talks about learning scales and different approaches like exercises that you can build from scales to help you get a bit more proficient with them. So that's something that you can use as a basis and something you can build into your daily practice routine. What I want to mention here though is the reason for playing something that feels quite exercise based, just running through scale boxes or finding patterns across the neck and playing those, or just like alternate notes or 1, 2, 3 type of patterns. Why you would want to play something like that might not on the face of it feel particularly musical. And the basis of that is just what we call muscle memory. It's the idea that if you perform the same action over and over again, even if it's something that's quite complex and difficult to get to grips with at first, your brain kind of works in tandem with your muscles and kind of learns how to perform that action, and it becomes a much more automatic sort of thing. Now, if you think about things that you do every day, even the principles of walking, and you'll know this if you've got kids or you ever had children, you've tried to teach them things like walking, using a knife and fork, tying your shoelaces. If you remember what it was like when you first tried to learn how to do those, you're probably quite clumsy, but now it's second nature. It's because of this idea of thing called muscle memory. And it's the same with playing guitar. If you play through scale boxes and scale patterns and different exercises, moving your hand around the guitar neck, your brain will start to learn how to do that automatically. So when you get into a situation where you're improvising or you're soloing over a chord progression, you know what key you're playing in, and you're playing notes from the scale around at different places on the fingerboard. It'll be a much more natural thing to do because you've already drilled yourself with these exercises, so your fingers automatically kind of know how they need to move around to find the shape of the scale to be able to pick out the notes from the scale. So it might feel a bit dry when you're doing it in your practice routine, but it really does reap benefits when you start playing, particularly in like an improvisation sort of situation, because the actions just become so much more automatic. So the bottom line is, learning scales is important. Scales are a foundation of music, so you need to learn them. Particularly if you're playing rock music, I would say learn natural minor, minor pentatonic, possibly the harmonic minor as well. For general musicianship, you need to know the major scale, the major pentatonic. If you want to get into things like jazz, then the natural minor. And as you move on through your musical theory, your musical journey, learning the modes of those scales as well are very important. All those scales, they're in PhatPhish, so you can use them. You can use PhatPhish to figure out where the notes are on the neck in different keys and different tunings and whatnot, and use that as a tool to help you learn the scales and to develop as a guitar player. Okay, I hope you found that useful. As always, if you've got any questions, if you go here, there's a form you can fill in, submit that, and I'll try and get around to answering any question in a future video. If you like the video, please click like, subscribe, or leave a comment down there, all the different options that YouTube gives you. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.